Hello, and welcome everybody back to the Inside Our Galaxy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hernandez, as always. A 6-2 win against Minnesota United in the Western Confrence semifinals. An amazing game, an amazing atmosphere. I mean, after 23 days of not playing, it was just, for me, it was surprising, it was shocking, but we're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about that, our thoughts and opinions about that game, and of course, with that result and with that win, first time since 2014, we are headed to the Western Confrence Finals against the Seattle Sounders at home at Dignity Health Sports Park. So we'll talk about that game, preview that game, give all our, just everything you want to hear about that game, and of course, the excitement that's building up into this week, the hype, the nervousness, just all the emotions that is just going around in everybody's body as a Galaxy fan. Is just like, it's just amazing right now. But of course, we have to stay focused. The team is going to stay focused, and we got to take it one game at a time. But of course, we'll talk about that game, that Western Conference final preview. But of course, should be a good conversation overall. And of course, with me as always is my co-host, LA Galaxy Central, actually back in California. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. It was my first Galaxy game since the middle of July, and obviously, I very much enjoyed it. It was a great game to be at. We're going to talk about it, and obviously, it was a great atmosphere. We only talked like 2 weeks ago, but man, has a lot changed in those 2 weeks. You got Messi and Miami getting eliminated by the 9 seed. You got Columbus defending champions going out in the first round. Then you got LAFC losing to Seattle, and all of a sudden, you look at it now, it's like, the Galaxy get to host the rest of the way if they can continue to go. So it's like, a lot has changed in those 2 weeks. But I look forward to talking about it, and I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely for sure a wild few weeks, especially before we went on to that break, because a lot of games did go to the third round, or not the third round, the third game of the first round, which I think it was only us and Minnesota who managed to, I guess we were the first matchup of the bracket of everybody. But still the wild few weeks, obviously. So many of the favorites are out now. You had Miami in there, Columbus, and then also, I guess you can throw LAFC in the mix in there as well. Just wild scenarios in general for the playoffs, and it's just how it is in playoffs in any sport, right? And I think really more just in MLS, it can get pretty wild in terms of the playoffs, and we've seen it so far. It's been a few weeks, and obviously, I think after that Colorado game, after we ended up getting the result that we needed. Everybody was itching for this next game. Everybody was waiting for this next, for this conference semifinals. And we didn't know how this team was going to react coming off those 23 days. I don't think anybody really knew how both teams were going to play. Luckily, both ended up getting the job done early. And so I guess rest-wise, it was pretty equal for both teams. And I think everybody going into this game was going to ask themselves, how is the Galaxy going to play against this Minnesota team, a better Minnesota team, a team you can probably say was better than Colorado? How is this team going to perform? Are they going to have any trouble going into this game? And seemingly so. It looked like the Galaxy had not missed a step after those 23 games. 6-2 at home. Just an amazing game overall. I guess you can say there was a little bit of struggle within that first half. Obviously, it was close, 3-2 to end the first half. Then you get 3 goals in the second half, and everything just runs wild there. And honestly, just again though, this team has just been amazing offensively, defensively. You can say just all around, this team has been great. And a 6-2 win after that big of a break. I don't think anybody could have expected it. I don't know how you felt about it, but to me, that was a little bit shocking. But, what were your thoughts about that game, and how did you feel, going into that matchup, I guess? And obviously, like you said, that was your first game in, July. So how'd you feel being back as well?
Yeah, obviously, just like everybody else, I thought Minnesota was going to be a tougher opponent than Colorado. They're obviously in better form. I think they have better players, too. They have Yeboah up top, who's a really good player. They have some good guys in the midfield and goal. So, I thought they were going to be a good team. I thought it was going to be a good matchup. But obviously at home, the Galaxy came out flying right away. The first 30 seconds, fastest goal in franchise history. So that was the perfect start. You got to also credit Minnesota. They also stayed in it. They found a way to get an equalizer 5 minutes later. So they had a good response. And then you just saw a lot of individual quality for the Galaxy stand out. Some of the set pieces taken, some of the goals scored. They were just great individual moments from Peck, Jovic, delivery from Marco Reus. Ricky Puig played amazing. You just saw it all throughout the game. Yeah, the first half, like you said, it was close. It felt like we could have been up by 2 goals, but just some silly mistakes, honestly, just let Minnesota back in the game. But then the second half, that moment of brilliance from Gabriel Peck. Kind of put the game out of reach, in my opinion. Like, yeah, Minnesota got back in the game once to make it 1-1. Then they got back in it twice to make it 3-2. But, like, I don't know if we really thought they were going to get back in it a third time. Like, that was pretty hard. So once we made it 4-2, like, I felt pretty confident. And then, obviously, once they got the red card, Minnesota, it's like, I mean, that was pretty much game over. Then we made it 5-2, 6-2. I mean, it was over by the red card. So, yeah, I mean, the first half was definitely tough, very back and forth. The Galaxy came out flying. Minnesota kept it close, but then in the second half, our individual quality really showed, and we were able to pull away at home.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And I think, the second half is always an interesting part of the Galaxy game because we've seen it before that's kind of where seemingly they turn it up and turn into a different team or just take it up a notch into a different level in terms of the second half. But I mean, right off the gate, I mean, you mentioned it yourself, 27 seconds, Gabriel Peck just puts it, gives us the lead so early on. And again, I mean, obviously no one expected a 27-second goal, but I mean, like the fact that they went in there, going in, trying to go in and start things off just quickly as they can. I think that was, sort of the tone setter of what this game was going to be essentially for the Galaxy. And obviously just the way they've been playing in general, right? Like I think, they want to get things done quickly. They want to try to beat down an opponent as much as they can because at the end of the day, you can say after that first goal, it was just like, hey, we still got 90 minutes left, but it almost felt like the Galaxy said, like, hey, we got 90 minutes left. Let's keep doing more. Like, let's go out there and try to put this thing away. And obviously, yeah, like, of course, though, Minnesota just did give a little bit of a fight in that first half. Yabora with the first strike. I mean, that was an excellent strike by him, too. Like, I don't think, some people were kind of, like, a little mad about it, but I think that was a very excellent strike by him in terms of how he scored that goal. And still, though, like the Galaxy still try to put up goals. You had the second goal from Joveljic with the Marco Royce set piece assist. Payne still, which again, like, I mean, just in general, we'll talk about the players with the front three. Had an amazing game, but Payne still gets that goal. Yabora kind of gets a penalty that, which we thought we had blocked, but ends up getting called back because of McCarthy and where he was on the line. But still, though, like, I think at first it was rocky, and the second half, it was just like, that's where we really turn it up. And I think, just in general for the Galaxy mindset is just that they don't want to stop. They want to keep it going. They just want to try to, we're going to put this away, but we're also going to try to make it to the point where you can't reach it. And I think that's what has been the mindset and just the way they've been playing this whole playoffs. I mean, listen, 15 goals in 3 games is no joke. That is absolutely insane. Like, I mean, I don't know who's second in terms of most goals in the playoffs so far, but it just seems unreal that 15 goals and just in general, just like the way they've been playing has just been phenomenal. And again, I didn't expect a 6-2 result against Minnesota because of the fact that they were a little bit of a better team, but still, though, like, it's something that I guess, like, it really turns a different perspective on where we can go going forward, which we'll also talk about later in terms of, like, the preview and stuff. Yeah. But anything else, like, you felt like in this game that kind of, I guess, surprised you or shocked you, or anything that kind of, like, stood out?
No, I mean, not really. Like you said, it was an offensive explosion for sure. I did not expect 6 goals. Like, we scored more goals in our second playoff game than our first. In our first one, we won 5-0. So, I mean, that was just like, I mean, you said it yourself, 15 goals in 3 playoff games just feels like, wow. I mean, you can't really say much about it. Just, wow, that's pretty much incredible. And there's not much stopping it at the moment.
Yeah, and it's also not only just 15 goals, because we also haven't conceded that many goals either. I mean, we've only conceded 3. Like, that's, like, I mean, as much as we're going to talk about the offense and just that much, I mean, defensively, we've been playing very well. And I think, there's some players that I would like to shout out, like, in terms of the players, but defensively, we've been holding it down. Just in general, everybody has been sort of playing their part in these games. And another thing about just mentality-wise that I've been liking about the Galaxy, and something I've always praised about them throughout the season, and it's just the fact that they have this keep moving forward mentality, right? Like, obviously, after the first round, it was an amazing success with what they did with Colorado. They had 23 days they had to wait for this game, and ultimately they didn't really affect them. Like, yeah, sure, the goals, the wins that they had in Colorado were great. Sure, they had to go through a break, but at the end of the day, they knew that, hey, we need to focus on this game only and go do the job. We can't focus on anything else. And that's seemingly what I've been liking from this Galaxy team. And I think just in general for fans, that's kind of what I guess they sort of realized that, hey, like, obviously I'm gonna take it one game at a time, but people are kind of looking ahead a little bit, and it's just like, well, just the way they've been playing, how can you not have this sort of faith and hope that this team can actually go do something special? But obviously, they still got to take it slow. But at the same time, it's just like, how can you not have that? How can you not be a little bit excited of the fact that this team could go on to do something special? And it starts with these players too, and these type of performances that we've been having as well. Yeah. But yeah, though, I mean, obviously, though, great. I mean, honestly, it's just an amazing game, just in general, to live or to see, to live. Well, also to live, right? I mean, it almost life felt good when it came to that game as well. But yeah, though, just amazing atmosphere in that game, and just in general, the performances. Also, just the fans as well. The fans have been feeling great. Like, I don't know how you felt about the atmosphere, but we haven't felt the digs kind of have that sort of atmosphere in quite some time. Like, I don't know how you felt, especially, like, I guess in general, since you haven't been to a game, like, was it kind of a little bit surreal to see, like, the fans the way that they were in this game, even though you hadn't been there in a while?
Say, and this includes myself, there was a little bit of extra energy in that building, knowing that now every single game in the playoffs now is at Dignity Health Sports Park. There was a little bit of extra energy from that, and of course there has to be.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, it has to be. And I think, yeah, I mean, obviously it has to be with all just that excitement, which, again, the day before, with the Seattle and LAFC game, I think everybody was watching that just to see what would happen in that game. And maybe that would have been a little bit of a motivational booster for the team, in sense of, like, they saw that, hey, Seattle won, let's go win our game, and let's go really take this all the way. And I think, that's also a good thing to see as well, in terms of the team. But yeah, man, I mean, honestly, like, I think the hope and the excitement of just having I mean, still though, like, I like, it's a weird state of a fan right now, especially for me, because it's like, I want to get really excited, but at the same time, I know it's the road ahead is very difficult, especially from here on out. Just as, like, it's very difficult to, I mean, I don't know, like, in fact, I'm just kind of just going all over the place, but it's just it's just like, you have the excitement, but obviously there's still a lot more difficulty to go through with the path that we're on to. But it's still, though, like, seemingly, I think that game kind of just gave a boost of energy for everybody, in terms of the players and in terms of the fans as well. It just gave everybody a boost.
These playoffs, though, have been absolutely insane, though. Miami, LAFC, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Real Salt Lake, all combined, all 5 teams won one playoff series. All 5 of them, one playoff series win. So, like, as excited as you want to get, as looking forward to as you should be, it's almost like you almost look at those teams and you're like, well, like, anything can happen in these playoffs. Like, these playoffs specifically this year are just absolutely insane, absolutely all over the place. So you really do got to take it one game at a time, honestly. And yeah, that number is surprising too. I mean, one playoff series win from, like, 5, teams you would think would be really good in the playoffs. It really is crazy.
Yeah, and those teams that you just named, it's like, at one point, everybody, like, those guys were favorites. Like, all those teams were favorites, and I think, just in general, it's like, those teams were favorites, and going into playoffs, and I've always said it's just a different animal. Like, you can never predict what is going to happen, and I think, maybe they're just in general, so, like, for example, Miami. Like, I don't think Miami, in terms of those players, they really realize that, hey, it is a different animal. It is a different aspect to the game. Like, sure, you were the best team in the regular season, but how well can you perform in these games where one mistake could ultimately cost your season at that point, right? So it's just like, for them, I think there's some teams that I guess, like, maybe, and I guess that's sort of the whole thing about championship mentality, right? It's like, how can you deal with the adversity? How can you deal with the challenges ahead of you? And when you do fall, how do you bounce back up? It's just like that. And if you're not there mentally, and if you're not mentally strong as a team, to know that you can, I guess, if you're just not there, a mentally strong team heading into this playoffs, then I guess that's sort of a thing that could ultimately kill you, in that sort of aspect.
Speaking of individual mistakes, it's so nice to know now that our decision day disaster versus Houston doesn't mean jack shit now. That's very nice to know.
Well, that is true. I mean, obviously, and it was funny, everybody was sort of talking about that. I think you as well. It's just like, well, like, there's a good chance that we're not gonna, if we get to the point of the Western Conference final, like, there's a good chance we might not host it. And lo and behold, we're here and now we're hosting it. But point is, when the Houston game happened, I even said it was just more like, okay, like, we dropped it. It was a disaster. We can like we can say what it is, express our opinions about that game, but at this point, it's like we can't think about that. We got to keep moving forward and let everything play out. And like I said earlier, it's like that's sort of how this Galaxy team has been playing. It's just more of a keep moving forward type of mentality. Don't let anything good or bad stop you from being where you're at. Just keep going. You can be better. Focus on the next task. And I think, with the Galaxy playing that sort of way and playing and how they've been playing in the playoffs, it's kind of like almost rewarded them in a little bit because of that mentality. They're now hosting the Western Conference final, and they have an opportunity to even go beyond that if the result happens this week. But of course, as of right now, they're in a good position because of how they've been playing and how they've been taking the playoffs. And I think that is a good thing as well in sort of their mindset and how it's been rewarding to them at this point.
Man, though, first time since 2011, we get to host every single playoff game at home. Like, that really just is a special feeling, honestly. We get to play every game at Dignity Health Sports Park for as far as we go. That just saying that is like, damn, that feels good.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And again, I think, after that Houston loss, I think a lot of people were saying, like, well, there's a chance that we might not be able to do that. And here we are. And we're at a point where we're hosting the Western Conference final. It's really crazy to think that is coming out of my mouth right now. It's like the LA Galaxy are hosting the Western Conference final in 2024. It's just like, it's insane to think about. But at the same time, this team has proven themselves that they have gone to this point. But still, though, it's very crazy to see how the Galaxy have been playing. And just in general, just like the players have been amazing. And it's just like that. And obviously, I guess we can, sort of shift into the players a little bit. But still, though, the players have been amazing. And they've all your star players have been stepping up. They've been doing their job. And that's what you've been wanting to see from this team. Nobody's really slacking. Nobody's really not getting the performances or the production that they need. But everybody's doing their job. And I think that's also like a big plus for us and a big reason why people think that we can go and do something great at the end of this thing. But anyways, you want to talk a little bit about the players, sort of the individual performances now?
Yeah, sure. But I'll say one thing about the team right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, right now, just specifically for the offense, this is the first time all season, and it's coming at the most perfect time possible, where all four of our players are all clicking at the same time. Painso, Jovic, Peck, and Pooch. They've never all been, in form, top form, all four at the same time. We've never seen it before until now, which is just absolutely amazing to see. It's always been, Jovic and Painso are in form early. Then it's been Pooch and Peck that are in form. Then it's been Pooch and Jovic. It's always been, two guys in form at a time. Now, all four of them are at form at a time, and that's really why you're seeing this level of production and the amount of goals scored for the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to me everything is clicking, right? And it's not only just the offense. I think everybody seems to be clicking, and it's just crazy. Honestly, it's just you can say it's the perfect time, right? These are the games that everybody needs to be clicking here. But I guess let's start off, talking about the individual players. So I guess we can talk about the defense here first. So the defense, you had John McCarthy, you had Mickey Yamane, you had Garces in there, Yoshida, and John Nelson to start the game. Again, 2 goals in the first half from this game. Obviously, the first one was a great strike, and then the other one was a penalty, but again, I mentioned it before, defensively in the playoffs, we have been playing very well, as much as we want to talk about the offense. But how do you feel about how'd you feel about the defense in this game, and what were your thoughts about them?
Honestly, I felt great about the defense. I think they played a near perfect game. We let in 2 goals, but funny enough, the 2 goals were actually the offense's fault. On the first goal, Ricky Pooch gave the ball away, which led to, the Minnesota player passing it to Yeboah for the great strike, so that was Pooch's fault probably. And then for the second goal, Jovic decided he was going to be Sergio Ramos and just slide tackle someone in the box, and it's I don't know what he was doing there, and that was our striker's fault. So, I mean, you see the 2 goals against, it was both of our attackers' fault, really. So, honestly, the defense, they did perfect. They did their job. I can't even blame them on the 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can, and I guess you can say McCarthy should have done better on that penalty against on his line, but yeah, again, I guess you can't really fault him for that. I guess in the zone you might not be focused on that, but yeah, I mean, defensively we played well. I would like to shout out one player, and I think we've sort of talked about him a lot now recently, and that's Garces. I mean, man, does that guy get down and dirty in terms of the way he plays defense, man? Especially in the first half, because I was in Victoria Block, so I was on that side in the first half, but he seemingly was just a wall, man. Nobody was getting past him, and even if somebody did get past him, it was just he was going to get that ball right back. Like, I mean, again, he's a very, very good player. And the fact that, we've talked about it before and saying like it took a while for him to get used to playing here, but it's all worked out. It's all worked out to plan. And he's been great. I guess in round one, we were talking about John Nelson. In this game, in the semifinals, or the conference semifinals, like Garces was the guy, man. Like I really liked how he played. He was really the guy in the back line. Just honestly, he was fantastic. And it's crazy because it's like he plays like he's been playing for a very long time, but he's still a very young player. So it's just like, it's just great to see. And honestly, like, him being the starter at this point was also another good addition to have going into the playoffs. But anything else you want to say about the defense before we move on?
Very impressive from Mickey Yamane again, like that cross for the third goal. Definitely very impressive. The run was very impressive. His defending was very good. I think another guy you got a shout out for being very consistent is Yamane. I was very impressed with what he did.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I will say for the not the second goal, the third goal, the one that Painstone made, his first goal, the Japanese to Japanese player connection to lead to nice. That goal was, well, yeah, that was really awesome. Like to see Yoshida give it to Yamane, and then Yamane just ultimately giving it to Painstone there it's just been fantastic. And honestly, yeah, like I mean the defense. Not only can we talk about the defense and how they, or we can also talk about them offensively. Like I mean that's pretty wild to see. But yeah, definitely for sure, Mickey Yamane has definitely been a guy as well in terms of the for the Galaxy this season. But yeah, I mean obviously the defense played very well just in general in the playoffs and in this game. But yeah, let's move on into midfield now. Midfield, you had Edwin Cerrillo, you had Marco Reus starting, which was a very interesting move starting in this game, and then you also had Ricky Puig in there. Yeah, midfield I think as well had a really good game. We got production offensively, and I think in general we controlled that part of the game for a good amount of time. But how'd you feel about the midfield? What were your thoughts about it? And yeah, what were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, the midfield was very solid. I think Cerrillo played really well. Marco Reus starting in place of Delgado was definitely interesting. It kind of showed me, like, I kind of liked it because it sent a message that Greg Vanney was going to go offensive in that game and really go for it and push it home, which I kind of like that as a coach. I like that mentality and way of thinking. And I think Marco Reus played well too. He had that really good set-piece delivery to Jovic, and he was creating space for other people, which I think was good. And yeah, Ricky Puig also played really well, finding a lot of our weapons offensively, really getting people involved that needed to get involved in that game. So yeah, overall in the midfield, they did a lot of things really well, especially offensively, and I think Cerrillo really protected the back four very well.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like I think just in general that the midfield as a whole did very well. And like I said, they controlled, their part of the field at most of the times. Marco Reus, it was funny because during the game, I was kind of like getting a little like irritated about Marco Reus, and I was just like, why is he not doing this, or why did he do that? But then I realized kind of like after the game and, kind of reviewing that game afterwards, I'm like, Marco Reus played a very good game. And just in general, he does these little things, and like you said, create, open space, create space, and, allows Ricky to move and allows other players to move as well. And just in general, it's like, sure, maybe Marco Reus isn't giving you the flashy moves that you kind of, I guess, people might have expected him to do, but at the same time, he's contributing in other ways that kind of just really help, the team really move in terms of the ball and where they want to get to. Yeah, Cerrillo, I mean, obviously he played a very good game as well. He had very good, in terms of defensively, he played very well. And then Ricky Puig again, Ricky Puig just amazing. Gets the assist for that first goal. I'm trying to think if he got another assist in that game. I think that was the only assist he had, right? Or
he had one more at least. I don't know.
I'm trying to think if he had one more, but still though, the first assist to get that first goal in the 27 seconds in. Yeah, definitely. Like I mean, again, even if he doesn't get on the score sheet, he always finds a way to contribute in some sort of ways. The way he moves the ball, the way he takes on players, and just in general, had a good game. He had a good game as well. And honestly, you can never say that or my bad. Just in general, though, Ricky Puig just had a good game and just did what he needed to do in terms of what he needed to do, I guess.
Felt like Puig had more than just one assist that game, though. It felt like he was a lot more involved and a lot more active.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Like he was very involved. Like I'm trying to think who gave that. If he got another assist, because I was thinking about he didn't.
No, I don't think he did.
No, okay, yeah. It felt like it though. Like it felt like he had done more, but still though he like just in general he was so involved to the point where you think. Yeah, it's not always about stats, and sometimes stats are, can be inflating sometimes. So it's not always just about the goals and the assists, but definitely for sure he had a good game. But anyways, you have anything else to say about the midfield before we move on?
No, that's pretty much it. They definitely brought a lot to the table offensively, which really opened it up for our front three.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And speaking of that front three, I mean, boy, what a game did they have? I mean, everybody had a brace. I think someone said I think everybody said somebody said on Twitter, it was like the Galaxy are going to need a dentist with all these braces that they're getting. But yeah, I mean, obviously the front three, Joveljic, Paintstill, and Gabriel Peck both get 2 goals each, and honestly, just amazing to see. I mean, like this is what we've been wanting to see. Nonetheless, I mean, just to see these players all click at the right time and get those goals and be productive. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's been amazing from those guys. But how'd you feel about the front three? And what were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, what else can I really say? Obviously, I felt amazing about the front three, right? Every single player got a brace up there. Like I said earlier, they're all clicking at the first time at the best part of the season. All of them are really clicking very well. I mean, Painstill is starting to step up a lot, which I like a lot. Joveljic has played well in the playoffs, and Pek has just continued to be great, honestly, opening the score in 30 seconds. And then at a 3-2 game, he basically does like a run you would see from Messi at Barcelona. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, that run for the 4th goal that Peck did, I mean, I just had my hands, like, literally on top of my head like this. Like, after I saw it, like, it was absolutely crazy, man, honestly, to put us up with a 2-goal lead right there. I mean, he stepped up in an absolutely massive moment. Joveljic stepped up in a massive moment. Painstill stepped up in a massive moment, giving us a 2-1 lead, 3-1 lead, 1-0 lead, 4-2 lead. So it's like, I mean, these guys they're showing up right now. They're showing up in the big moments, and we're gonna continue to need that to happen, obviously, if we want to go all the way.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And again, it's crazy to think that at one point of the season, in terms of those guys each, like at one point we were saying like, well, when are they going to show up? Like obviously some of these players had like a different points in time of the season. Like obviously Peck was in the beginning. Vlich were, discussing about his availability and how that might affect them. And obviously Paintstill towards the second half of the season was almost, wasn't getting there, wasn't necessarily showing the flashes that we saw in the first half of the season. But now everybody's clicking, and just in general, it's great to see those guys have the production. And I will say for that Peck second goal, like my God, like seeing that head on as well, it was just insane. Like all I just see is this man just run 70 yards, and I'm thinking like, holy shit, like what is it? Like I was just thinking, okay, he's just gonna square it in. I think Painstill was probably there if he wanted to do that. And then Peck just ultimately says, nah, I'm just like, I'll do it myself. Like I'll take everybody on, takes on 3 or 4 guys, I think it was, to ultimately get there and get the goal. I mean, my God, it's amazing, man. Like it's so special to see how like great he has been. And again, it's just like at one point in the season we were saying like, oh, when is he gonna start, getting in there and take over games that we're hoping to see. And again, he took over this one, and along with the other two, along with Joveljic and Painstill, which also for Painstill, it's like, we were kind of saying like, when is he going to show up? When is he going to be the guy again? And again, he took 2 massive goals in here, and the second goal as well was almost like early Painstill, like almost like San Jose Painstill, like or Painstill versus San Jose, it's like but except it's with in a playoff game and against a good opponent, so definitely good to see as well. And Joveljic again, him doing his thing as well, and seeing him develop has been great as well. But offensively, again, we've talked about it. They've been great. They've been fantastic, and honestly, sort of been, I guess, the power and a little bit of the identity of the team, if you can say.
We got to give Joveljic a lot of credit too. I mean, he's not a DP player, and this is his first ever playoff start with the Galaxy, and he has 4 playoff goals in 2 games. I mean, you got to give him his props too, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, he's been playing very well. Yeah, I mean, and again, his growth and just in general of what we've seen from Dejan has been great. His development, just in general, a lot of these guys, how they developed and how they progressed throughout the season has been very good to see. Even in the tough moments where we were kind of questioning them, they seemingly have still figured it out and now are doing it in the biggest stage of the season. So definitely for sure they've been playing well. I will say though, like obviously like we've talked about the defense, how great the offense is. I've talked a little bit about how the defense has also deserved their flowers. Like what do you think could be the most important part for this team? Do you think it's more of the offense, or do you think it's a little bit of the defense as well, or like more of the defense, or like, I don't know, like how do you feel, I guess, just in general, like of how the team has been playing? Like what contributes more into sort of these sort of results?
I mean, the answer is simple for me. It's Ricky Puig and Gabriel Peck. I mean, these two guys are some of the best players Major League Soccer has to offer. And when you're looking to win a championship and go far in the playoffs, you're always going to look towards your best players to make difference moments for you and take you all the way. So I think it has to be our attack, and it has to be those two players specifically.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And I think sometimes in terms of the attack, like I guess it's just like if you're attacking very well, like that kind of makes it a little bit easier for the defense because then that the more a team gets like keeps getting scored on mentally, that kind of affects them, and that maybe they won't be as threatening as and that kind of helps the defense as well. But yeah, I mean, I guess seemingly the offense has been the powerhouse of the way we've been winning games, and of course that they again, 15 goals in 3 games is no joke. It really isn't. So those guys have been playing fantastic, definitely for sure. But anyways, in terms of sub management, how'd you feel about that? Anything that kind of stood out to you there?
Like I said in the beginning of the game, I like that Greg Vanny went very offensive in our own home. He was pushing for it. He was going for it, which I liked a lot. Then obviously all the subs came when the game was over, obviously, because he didn't want to, have a chance of going to extra time with guys he didn't want on the field going in there. So, I mean, the subs made sense, but I will just say, like, I really like the way Greg Vanny approached that game. I think going offensive was a good decision.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting that he went a little bit more offensive with putting Marco Royce in because Mark Delgado has been playing very well. Like it's not like he like, oh, it's like he had a bad game or he's in bad form, we have to take him off. It's like, no, he's been playing very well too. So it's just like to put in Marco and to put in more of the offensive mindset was definitely interesting, but it worked out in the end, and I guess it is also good to have Marco Royce in these type of games because obviously, he's been playing in so many important games in Europe. And when he was in Borussia Dortmund, I mean, heck, he was playing in the Champions League final in May. So it's like, he's been in like pretty big atmospheres or in terms of games that are of importance. So it's like, like putting him in there also for that sort of reason also helps as well. But anyways, yeah. So that was the players, that was the team. Yeah, and obviously everybody had contributions all around. And again, as much as this win was great, we got to focus for the next one. And these players know that. These players know that they got to focus for the next one. Can't be celebrating this 6-2 win as much as they want to. Like, they got the next game going. So, hopefully they can replicate that against a very tough opponent. But anything else you want to say about the game in general, the team, the players, the performance, just anything?
Second goal reminded you of Messi a lot because for me, like, it seriously did. Like, I watched Messi a lot, like, growing up. That's a goal like he would score like in his prime at Barcelona, honestly.
I will say it's definitely a goal where I think, and I know people kind of say like, oh, Peck isn't going to be here for that long. And it's kind of like that goal is kind of a reason why. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can compare it to Messi. You can compare it to, a lot of great players who can do that. But it's like a goal like that kind of shows these like maybe these European teams or these scouts are saying like, hey, this guy could be special. Like, like he's doing it here. So it's like he can be very special. So I definitely for sure whenever I saw that goal, it was just kind of like, whoa, it's like that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. That's all I'll say.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. 6-2 win against Minnesota United to ultimately move us forward into the Western Conference final against the Seattle Sounders, which we will, talk about. But first, there has been a little bit of Galaxy news. There was one news earlier this week that kind of had everybody buzzing and in sort of a way of, maybe in some sort of sense, robbery. I know a lot of people kind of talked about this one, but, obviously we talk about the individual awards in terms of, players, obviously Gabriel Peck was newcomer of the year. You had other players that were not nominated for other rewards. Even, Greg Vanny was had a nomination for coach of the year and, all that good stuff. I guess they have executive of the year in terms of the MLS. And, obviously this is in terms of GMs and, sporting directors around the league. And ultimately, the person who had won it was John Thorrington of LAFC, who was the general manager over there, who had won that award, which ultimately had everybody sort of upset. The fact that Will Kuntz was not awarded that in terms of what has happened this season, which rightfully so, everybody I think should be sort of mad about or upset about that nomination that he didn't win it. I know you already went on social media to talk about it. I know you already had your thoughts and opinions about it, but do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like, how'd you felt when you saw that?
Listen, I'll just leave it at this. Like, All-Star game, Executive of the Year, Coach of the Year, MVP, all those things are great, and yes, we have a chance at winning them. But ultimately, this Galaxy team wants one thing and one thing only, and that's to win the MLS Cup. That's the most important award we want, and that's what we need to focus on. And I'll just leave it at that, really.
Yeah, but obviously, yeah, that's fair. I mean, ultimately, the goal is the MLS, the MLS Cup, and I think that's sort of the mindset of these players that too, right? It's like, well, it's like sure, all those awards are fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, we're gonna go and try to get the biggest award that and the team award that everybody's gonna have. So it's like everybody's gonna want that. But I will say, I think it should be a little bit of a motivation for the team, right? Like it should be a little bit of in a sense that they are seeing that and saying like, huh, all right, then I guess I wasn't the best, but you know what? I'll show you that I'm the best. So I will say that in terms of that, in terms of that award. But it did have a lot of the Galaxy community, sort of upset that Will Kuntz didn't win it, which I guess is rightfully so because he's done a fantastic job. We've already talked about Will Kuntz so much on this show that like obviously he has done a very well job and he should have some recognition. But I think he also he still gets recognition. I guess that's just more of a like, hey, you get a trophy for that recognition, but he definitely gets the recognition he deserves for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that was a little bit of Galaxy news. I don't think there was really anything else, to that. I think they had a bit of media day. I didn't see a lot of things. I think I did see that Marco Royce did get a knock in terms of the game that was played on Sunday, but I don't think that's really going to affect them as much. Maybe it could lead to Mark Delgado starting. Maybe we're not sure, but of course he did get a little bit of a knock there. But other than that, I didn't see much more Galaxy news unless you had anything to that I missed.
I mean, the only Galaxy news we got right now is we got to train for the next game and be prepared. That's the Galaxy news we got right now.
Definitely for sure. The next Galaxy news is that we have a Western Conference final game. So definitely, let's talk about that. The Western Conference final this Saturday at Dignity Health Sports Park at 7 p.m. We will take on the Seattle Sounders. This game, again, just only focusing on this game, is going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. It's a big one. It's a ticket to go try to win it all, and both teams are going to want it. Both teams have definitely earned their spot here, and they're going to try to find their way to go into that big game. And also hosting, right? Like both teams are going to try to want to host that game. So it's definitely a lot on the line. A tough battle. A battle that we've seen throughout the years that's always been tough. But yeah, we go up against the Seattle Sounders, a very good defensive team, so far in these playoffs. Yeah, so far this season. So yeah, the Seattle Sounders this week at home. How do you feel about this game? Obviously, I'm nervously excited about it. Like it's just like the emotions are everywhere in terms of this game. But how do you feel about it going into this game?
Yeah, I think that's how we all feel, right? It's very fair to feel that way. And obviously, yeah, when you look at this Seattle Sounders team, I mean, look, you got to have nothing but full respect for this team. I mean, this is a group of players that has won 3 MLS Cups, has been to 5 MLS Cup finals, has won a CONCACAF Champions League, and consistently has been the top 3 or 4 in the Western Conference. Like, I mean, you can say what you want about the Seattle Sounders, some criticism offensively, some of their aging core, but this is a team that knows how to win. This is a team that went into BMO Stadium and beat LAFC not in 1 but in 2 playoff games, which is a very hard stadium to win in. So I mean, this team Seattle Sounders is very capable of coming into here and giving us a really good game and possibly coming out of here with a win. And you got to fully respect them for that. Best defense in the league, back-to-back seasons. They let in the least amount of goals in MLS versus the best attack in MLS. Will be very interesting to see. Obviously, that means the Galaxy got to take their chances, be very clinical. Again, I'd go with an offensive lineup, like with Marco Royce again if he's available. And then, yeah, with the set pieces too, Seattle's very good on set pieces. Obviously, this season, we're not very good on set pieces, so you got to limit those. You got to get those out. You got to stay very focused. But the fact that the game's at home, obviously a massive deal. We've been great at home all season, so that's a huge advantage for us. Seattle's coming here. I mean, we played them one time this year. We beat them 1-0, probably our ugliest win of the year. Tied them one time, lost to them the other time in Leagues Cup. So, I mean, it's pretty even across the board. They're a team that's going to keep it close, that's very competitive. We talk about mentality in the playoff slot. Seattle has a very strong mentality, and that's why they find themselves here. I think teams like LAFC, Columbus, and Miami kind of went into the playoffs with a bit of an ego a little bit, like you saw against their opponents. Like, I think they were the better teams, but they didn't, perform the way they needed to, and they found themselves out. This Seattle team, they always have a winning mentality. That organization's built on success and winning, and yeah, they're going to come in here. They're going to believe. They're going to have what it takes to win, and we're going to have to match that intensity. And Yeah, our star players got to show up. I mean, I talked about it earlier. It's all about star players in the playoffs. We're going to need everybody more than ever. Our defense, our offense, our midfield, our fans. I mean, it's a huge chance, man. It's the biggest Galaxy game in the last 10 years. I mean, think about that. This is our first conference finals in 10 years. So that means in the last 10 years, this game is the biggest game we've played. And I'm going to be there. I don't know if you're going to be there, but it's going to be sold out, and we're ready to go. We should be ready to go. And I'm looking forward to it. Like you, I'm nervously excited, but, we have a lot of really good players. We're going in. It's a good team. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I will be at that game. I had to be at that game. There's no way I'm going to miss that. But
Valid, bro.
yeah, but still, though, yeah, I mean, Seattle, I mean, again, very good team. They've historically have been a good team. I mean, just like you said, they know how to win, man. They know how to get here. They have the blueprint to get here. And again, you got to respect them for that. You got to respect how that organization has been run. But yeah, I mean, obviously Seattle, just in general, is going to be a very tough opponent. They went in last week against LAFC, managed to basically contain Buwanga, contain Bogus, contain all their star power. And again, like, they've played a very good game defensively. And even in those small moments where they have a window like Jordan Morris to get that winner, I mean, again, Seattle knows how to win it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be, the flashiest, but a win is a win, and that's how they view it. It's like, no matter, they don't care how they get the win, as long as they get it, they're gonna be fine with that. And like you said, that's how they've won so many trophies. That's how they've been one of the, I guess, premier clubs of the MLS and just in general the United States, right? So it's just like, yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be very difficult playing them. Obviously, both teams have advantages. Like you mentioned, we got a home game. We've been very well at home. Last time we played them here at home, we ended up getting a 1-0 win, which again wasn't the prettiest, but we still got a win. But again, it's just going to be a very, very difficult game. And I think, this matchup has a lot of history. This, you can almost even say a rivalry has a lot of history to it. A lot of big games, a lot of big playoff games. Like, and again, this, you can say this is almost like a little bit 10 years in the making. Last time we played them here, it was at their house for the Western Confrence final. Obviously, it was two-legged, but still, though, last time we played them, it was in their house to ultimately go, win MLS Cup. So again, this is going to be like a thing that's 10 years in the making as well. So it's like, it's going to be very difficult. Again, nervously excited because I'm excited with the potential we have of this team and what we can do going forward. But it's also just very nerve-wracking because it's against the Seattle Sounders, which, by the way, maybe, I guess, recently in terms of like the last few years haven't been very well to us. So definitely, for sure, it's going to be a game with a lot of intensity and a lot of emotion, for sure. But still, though, a very, very big matchup. I will also say, though, not even only just in terms of the players, but also head coaching matchup is going to be very important. Let's not forget that Brian Schmetzer kind of has Greg Vandy's number in terms of these types of games. So that's also going to be a big factor going into this game, like how well, I guess coaching and tactics are going to play into this game. Like, there's so much that goes into this game that's going to be a big factor. Obviously, support, fans is going to be a big factor as well in terms of how the atmosphere is going to be. So, but again, Seattle, I think they know how to, sort of play in those types of environments. But definitely, for sure, a lot that's going to go into this game. I will say, like, do you think there's one thing or something that you think that could be a big difference in terms of this game and how this game goes? Like, what do you think could be a big factor going into this game?
It's a great question, honestly. For Seattle's side, I think it's set pieces. Like, they don't have a very good attack this season. They've kind of struggled to score goals at times. So I think they're going to look at set pieces as a big part. Like, look at that last Leagues Cup game versus us. We lost 3-1. They scored 2 set piece goals in the first, 10 minutes of the game. So obviously they're going to want to take advantage of that. And if Seattle can score, they know. They're back-to-back years, they're the best defense in the league, least amount of goals let in the league. So they know that they can, sit back and absorb pressure, and they're comfortable doing it. But for the Galaxy, that's honestly a great question. I don't know. I really don't know. It's like all 4 of your offensive players, Jovic, Peck, Pooch, and Painslow, they all need to play really well. I mean, you need to put pressure on the Seattle back line. You got to keep pounding on the door just over and over again. You got to hope it budges. You got to hope a chance comes. And when that chance does come against that defense, I mean, you got to take it, honestly. You really got to take it because Stephen Fry, I mean, with the way he's been playing this playoffs, I mean, he's not letting any free goals, and this Seattle back line is not going to let him many chances. So I would just say, for Seattle, it's probably set pieces. For the Galaxy, it's being clinical with whatever chances you might be able to find.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Just in general, we got to get those opportunities and just try to make the most of them, which again, so far the Galaxy have done that these playoffs. They have taken advantage of those opportunities, and I think Seattle, seeing that and probably looking at the film, they're going to try to find a way to not give them those opportunities and try to make it a very tough game offensively for us. And again, it's going to be difficult for both sides. And again, it's going to be a game where, just in general, it's a really big game. And like you mentioned, this is our biggest game in like 10 years. So
it is the biggest game in 10 years.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is the biggest game in 10 years. So it's like, for us, and again, for us, it's just like we haven't been here in a while. For the Sounders, it's like they haven't been, They know how to get here. They know how the blueprint to go to the next step, and it's just like it's going to be very interesting to see for sure. And I think again, we like the team. I think for me, if I want to take a big factor, is what they've always been doing. Is just focus on this game. Don't let anything distract you. Don't have anything outside of this game really affect the game. Or affect the way they play. And I think that's ultimately what they just got to keep doing. Is just, again, look at this game, move forward into this game, play the way you've been playing. And yeah, just I don't know, man. It's just I guess it's just very difficult to say, but it is going to be it is going to be an exciting game. It is going to be a nail biting game. And ultimately, yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that we're in this position and we're on the doorstep, but at the same time, we gotta, I guess, get through Seattle in order to get through the door, if that makes sense.
What's really cool is there's actually a player starting in this game that played in the 2014 Western Conference Finals. Stephen Fry is starting goal for Seattle in Leg 2 versus us, and it's like, the fact that he's still playing right now and he's still like this good is like, honestly, like usually I don't praise other teams' players that much before a playoff series, but like, you gotta respect Stephen Fry, man. I mean, the dude's an absolute legend with the way he played against LAFC. Still playing against us in the conference final 10 years later after he played Keenan Donovan. Now he's playing Puchin Peck. It's like, man, I mean, Stephen Fry has been around a while. I mean, it's gonna be cool to see him again in goal.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. He's still killing it, man. Like he's still doing his thing, and just in general, I think sort of sense. Like I've always been a guy who kind of respects opponents in a sense, like even like no matter what, it's just like in Seattle again, it's just like they've been a well-run organization. We can't deny that. They've there's a reason why they have so much silverware in their cabinet, and at one point we were saying they were the standard of what a team should be, right? So it's just like still though they know how to get here, and I think it's going to be a big challenge, but I think in a sense, the team is going to want to take this challenge. Like, this is what they signed up for, It's like, these are the challenges. Like, this is a good thing to have a challenge like this, because that means, you've been a good team and you've been in a position to go for it. And I think, these are the challenges that the team wants. Now it's the matter of how they, the adversity they face through this challenge. And again, the Seattle Sounders is a pretty big challenge. And now we just got to see how they perform this weekend. But anyways, yeah, do you have any other points about this game? Anything you want to talk about before we move on?
I mean, I agree with you. I'm excited. I'm nervous for it. I'm looking forward to it. I hope our players are motivated for it. I hope they're all excited for it. I hope our star players show up. I hope all the fans show up. Obviously, you and I are going to show up. We're going to bring the noise, bring the energy. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, honestly. Looking forward to it. Excited, nervous for sure. But, yeah, I mean, let's get it. Let's get after the Seattle team. Hopefully, we can score some goals on them and just play the way we have defensively, and hopefully we're able to move on.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Just take it now. Obviously, it's take it one game at a time. But we just got to focus on this one, man. Just do what we need to do the right things, play the way you've been playing, and yeah. I mean, obviously, again, it's like I said in the beginning of the show, it's like the excitement is there because of what you can see beyond this door. But at the end of the day, we gotta, beat Seattle in order to get through that door. And again, it's just like still like it's exciting because of that reason, but it's nervous because it's like, one mistake and that could be it. So, but again, this team I think has I will say this team has the capability to go. Now it's just a matter of showing it to us. So I think that's the most important part. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to take all of us, not only just the players, not only just the coaches, it's also the fans, whoever go, obviously bring the noise, bring the heat, make it uncomfortable for Seattle. And, even Joseph Painstill even said it, like, you got to have everybody in there, please coming back. And even if you don't go to the game, even if you're not there in person, bring the energy at your home or at a bar or at a friend's house. I don't know. But at the same time, it's going to take all of us. So, yeah, definitely for sure. Nervously excited. But, yeah, like you said, we got to go get it. Let's go get it. But anyways, that's going to be it for the episode. Can't thank you all enough for watching and listening. If you want to, If you want to follow us on social media, follow me at Insider Galaxy on Instagram. On X, go follow LA Galaxy Central on Instagram. Yeah, anything you want to say to the listeners before we go?
Go out there and get it.
Yes, sir. Let's go out there and get it. Obviously, it's going to be a big game this weekend. And also, before the game, happy Thanksgiving. This episode will probably be released, on Thanksgiving Day. So happy Thanksgiving. Go be thankful with your loved ones and spend time with your loved ones. Go eat some turkey or whatever you're going to make at your Thanksgiving. Obviously have a good Thanksgiving in terms of that as well. What are you going to do for Thanksgiving? What is the Thanksgiving like in your household before we go? Just real quick.
Just a nice dinner, honestly, talking with some family. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. Gonna be a good time. Spend time with your loved ones, a good dinner, whether it's turkey or something else. I know a lot of people like to do different things, but for sure, gonna be a good one. For in terms of Thanksgiving and also in terms of the game this week. So, we got to go bring it for that one. But thank you guys for listening. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the podcast. Whenever you're listening to this podcast. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. Thank you guys for listening. Let's go get it. And G's up.
7 words beat.